And a good chilly Tuesday afternoon to everyone from Pickerington High School Central. We are here for week 15, the final week of the high school football season, and one team is still standing from Central Ohio. I'm Dave Purpura, along with Frank DiRenna, standing in for Jared Alry, and our coach to begin the show today is Tigers coach Jay Sharrett. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
I first have to ask you how you are, considering you're practicing on December 3rd. But
it's a good thing. You just put the cold aside and keep doing football. It's fun.
Cincinnati Elder will be the opponent on Friday night, 8 o'clock in the state final up at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. I mean, you're in your second state final in 3 years. What's this journey been like with 10 wins in a row leading up to this point here?
I think one of the neatest things is our seniors. We've got 3 seniors that have been with us the whole time, and this will be their 58th game tomorrow. This Friday. So, 58 games. The max you can play in 4 years is 60. So, Dimitrik, Crenshaw, Ty Hamilton, Don Morosco, and the rest of those seniors, this is something they really wanted. And after we won that conference title and got the regional title, this was the next step. And you win in the qualifier against Mentor. That was just a huge game, but it was just that, the qualifier. Now we're in the state championship. Hopefully we can put together a good ball game and come back with the title.
What have you learned about Elder so far? What's the keys of Friday night?
Absolute pain. They're solid offensively, defensively, and special teams. And it's easy to say, what's a state championship, Jay? Everybody's going to be good. But you always look for a crack, some seam or something. But Coach Ramsey's got those guys coached about as well as you can going into week 15. And they look light on their feet. They look fast. And hopefully we can match them in that situation, take it into the fourth quarter and see what happens.
We know they got a tight end going to Ohio State. I believe they have an offensive lineman going to OSU as well. Is this a team that is pretty balanced? They're going to run and pass the ball a lot, or what's kind of the looks that you've seen from them so far?
They've got a quarterback that makes great decisions, and he will not force the ball, which is frustrating for us because we want him to force the ball. No, he'll tuck it, find his escape route, get 7 yards, get out of bounds, or pick up the first down and keep the drive alive. And all the yards, all that stuff, stats don't mean anything. You could tell they're in the same mindset. Score one more point than their opponent and advance. And anybody who's been in the playoffs know you win them and forget them. And you can tell that's what they've done. They don't care if they win by 2 points or 20 points. As soon as that game's over, you can almost see their mindset that they're starting to get ready for next week. And our guys are kind of in that same frame of mind. And like I said, it should be a great ball game on Friday.
We talked after the Gulport game. We said this team right here just flips the switch in November. Talk about that a little bit, how they flip a switch here.
I think most of our teams do, to be honest with you. Whereas teams start to slow down week 8, 9, they're thinking about basketball, wrestling. Our guys, we came out that first week of the playoffs, you thought it was the first week of practice. These guys are bouncing around. Our coaches, they start to feel it, and you feel that crispness in the air. And there's something to know next week unless there's a this week. And they know if they don't score one more point than the other team, then the season's over. And when you do that, I think these kids play harder, our coaches coach harder, and I think that's reflective of why we're here week 15.
All right, Coach, we will let you get back to preparation. Thanks again, Jay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's Central Coach Jay Sharrett joining us. Pickerington Central was 3rd in the state to end the season in the poll. Cincinnati Elder was 9th. That game is at 8 p.m. Friday night up in Canton. You mentioned a couple things, and it was one of the notes I had written to myself first off, that they do seem to hit another level. They flip a switch with this kind of talent. It's really crazy, the gauntlet they've run and then the gauntlet that their opponent Friday night is running.
Well, I think that schedule, they start off the season in August and September. They play a tough schedule. Probably helps them get ready for these games right here. And he's got those Division I players out there. You expect them to be here at the end of the year, and they are.
Absolutely. You mentioned what they started against a team from Florida in Georgia, I want to say, and then they played a team out of Illinois. They played a team in Indiana, and that's been a usual thing for them here these past several years. Elder, he mentioned how hard-hitting it's. Boy, the schedule they've played really stands out. They played Cincinnati LaSalle, who we're going to mention in a couple of minutes. They were Division II state finalists, and that's in addition to the Coleraines, the St. X's. They even played Lakewood St. Ed's, who Mentor beat in their regional final a couple weeks ago. With the schedule, it's you wonder, that's great preparation to be here.
It should be a fantastic game Friday night, and like I said, you expect them to be here this time of year.
The last time they met in the postseason was 11 years ago. Elder won that state semifinal, and then they played in the season opener back in 2016. The Pickerington Central won 20-14. We mentioned they are the team from our coverage area that is playing on Friday in this weekend's state finals. There is another team from Central Ohio who also is going to be playing for a state championship, and that's Licking Valley. They are in Division 4. They are 14-0. They will take on a team probably a lot of people didn't expect to be here, and Clyde, who's 10-4. Just looking at that game, I worked in Newark for a couple years, and I covered Licking Valley as part of that. I didn't realize they never won a state title at all. I mean, this is a great program that's going to try to break through here coming up on Saturday.
They've had great success there, but like you said, always come up short a little bit at the end. But maybe this is the year. But like you said, Clyde not expected to be here, but at this stage, you just never know.
They're the only 8th seed that is left, and there were some 8-1 upsets. Obviously, Clyde was one of those. They knocked off Cincinnati, Wyoming. They didn't knock them off. They beat them badly, 35-14 up at Marysville on Saturday night. They have a good running back named Gunnar Golden. If you get a chance, look up his story. It's a great one. His dad died before he was born, and it's kind of something that he's dedicated his career to that. Looking at some other notes in this game, Frank, I didn't know if you had any.
Licking Valley, I'm sure the coach is going to tell your team you can't overlook anybody.
Yeah.
This team has 4 losses. They're coming off a big win in the semifinals, so there's no way you can overlook anybody.
Quarterback Logan Bragg has passed for 1,750 yards and 26 touchdowns, and Valley had a huge come-from-behind win on Saturday when they beat Poland Seminary 25-24. They were down 24-10 in that game. 5 other state championship games. Those begin Thursday night with a game I was thinking when I was writing 5 things, the Nate Moore Bowl. Would be Cincinnati LaSalle taking on Massillon in the Division II final up at Canton, obviously, as all of these games are. Nate Moore coached LaSalle to the 2014 state title, and included in that run, they had a rout of Olentangy in a state semifinal that year, and he's been at Massillon pretty much ever since that point. 14-0 against 12-2. Massillon was top-ranked to end the regular season.
Another great game. I mean, all these games, if you're a high school football fan, you've got to be up there Thursday through Saturday for all these games.
And again, it's 1 Thursday, 3 Friday, 3 on Saturday night, and we will run through those as well. Anna in Division 6 was number 1, and they take on the second-ranked team to end the season in New Middletown, Springfield. And I had to look up where New Middletown was. It is extremely close to the Pennsylvania border, just south of Youngstown. Anna, this is their 20th season as a varsity program. They've had 11 games with a running clock this year. They've only lost 1 game this year, and they're in that Midwest Athletic Conference that we're probably going to mention again here in a minute.
Well, playing an undefeated team, it should be a pretty good game, I would think.
I would imagine so, sure. I mean, New Middletown, Springfield, again, out of Mahoning County. Anna's only loss was to Division 7 finalist and fellow MAC team, Maria Stein, Marion Local. Now, on the other end of that, with these next 2 games, Richland County, until now, has never had a team in the state finals. Richland County, if you aren't aware, that's the Mansfield area, about an hour north of here. They now have 2 teams, Mansfield Senior, and I am not wearing this hat for the Lucas Cubs, but they are the Cubs, and they are in the state final coming up on, they're the morning game on Saturday against Marion Local, who we just mentioned.
Always have to get the Cubs involved, don't you?
What's that?
Always have to get the Cubs involved.
I don't want to have my bald head in 25-degree weather here. Oh, it is chilly out here, and very much opposed to when it's 100 degrees when we do these previews out here. That's got to be a neat thing, though. I mean, to have your area finally represented in a final, not just with 1, but with 2 teams here.
I know the area is Richland's football tradition, so like you said, to get 2 teams here, it's got to be a treat for that area.
Division 3 is Mansfield Senior against Trotwood Madison. Trotwood Madison is the team that beat Hartley last week, 24-19, held them off to win that game. This is their 7th state final appearance since 2010 for Trotwood, and as we mentioned, of course, this is the first ever for Mansfield. Lucas is at 12-2. They're the team that beat Harvest Prep on Saturday, and they're taking on Marion Local. This is Marion Local's 15th state final appearance. They were runner-up in Division 6 last year and dropped. The team to which they lost, Kirtland, is up to Division 5. That's one of those powers up east of Cleveland, I believe, is where Kirtland is. They're in the state semifinal, it seems, seemingly every year. State finals, this is 8 and 9 years for them.
You mentioned Lucas. They've got to be coming off a high after that late win against Harvest Prep. They were losing most of the game, scoring the final second. So Lucas has to be carrying a lot of momentum in that final.
Yep, and Kirtland in the Division 5 final will take on Ironton, which is 13-1. This is their first state final in 20 years, and they're seeking their 3rd title. Interestingly, the other ones that they've won have been on the 9s, 79 and 89, and they were in the state final in 99. I mean, does that mean anything? Well, people thought that those 9s meant something for Michigan last week, and it ended up not meaning anything. So, season as a whole, Frank, I know we wanted to mention that before we got out of here. Just some our impressions. I mean, from some of the teams that you cover or things that you remember around Central Ohio. What stands out to you from this season?
Well, the one playoff game that sticks out is the Dublin-Jerome game against Springboro with 5 overtimes. I mean, probably the best high school game I saw this year. Jerome won in the last play of the game. Did lose the following week to Springfield, but still a great win for Jerome that night.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you know, I look also in Division I, but in Region 3, the run that Groveport had, and I think you mentioned it to Jay, that, you know, Groveport's run came to an end against Pickerington Central. That was the best team Groveport's had. I mean, 10 wins, a regional runner-up.
District Coach of the Year.
District Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year in his league, Josiah Robinson. I mean, they've got several of those guys coming back for next year. The cupboard is not going to be bare over in Groveport. The run that Olentangy put together in Division II, pulling a couple upsets before they lost to a very good Toledo Central Catholic team.
And they closed the season on a sorry note. They lose the last couple games.
Yeah, including one that you covered.
Yeah, Western Central.
Yeah, with 7 turnovers in that, and they ended up making a regional final.
So that's a nice turnaround for that team.
It really was, And you mentioned we haven't had many changes in the coaching carousel yet.
Thomas Worthington, we know, Hamilton Township, but I'm sure there's more coming eventually. We'll hear more.
Seems to be that way. So we do want to let you know a couple programming notes, as it were, that we will have our season basketball preview Facebook Live coming up at noon on Thursday from the office. We'll have our entire staff here with you. And a week from today at high noon, Jared Alry and I will announce the fall honorees for the Central Ohio All-Star Preps Banquet. We're doing the banquet a little bit differently this year. Instead of having one for the fall and then one for the other 2 seasons, we're going to have one for all 3, and that's coming up on May 26th. That's the day after Memorial Day, down at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. It's been a great season doing these things again. Obviously, you've been here. Scott stood in for me last week, which I really appreciated. Jared doing it all season. Andy Resnick behind the camera. It's funny, football does fly by every year. It's no exaggeration, but another season's going to be coming to a close after Saturday.
I am looking forward to going inside, though.
Yes, and we're both going to be doing that later for other previews. Obviously, we're in the throes of winter previews right now, and we'll be talking to you live from our office on Thursday afternoon. For Coach Jay Sharrett and for all the coaches who have joined us this year, I'm Dave Purpura. So long, everybody.